From the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C.
It is my huge honor to introduce Andrea Beaty, the best-selling author of Rosie Revere, Engineer, Iggy Peck, Architect, Attack of the Fluffy Bunnies, Hide and Sheep, Artist Ted. Andrea has received numerous literary awards, the Friends of American Writers Award, the Parents' Choice Silver and Gold Medals, the National Association of Parenting Publications Gold Medals, and the Prairie State Award. But I think the greatest recognition is the number of children who are right here waiting for me to get off the stage. Andrea's latest book is Ada Twist Scientist, a story of a child who uses science to understand her world. Andrea will be signing books at 2:30, so bring your books or buy more. It is my huge pleasure to introduce Andrea Beaty.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh. Thank you and welcome to the National Book Festival. Can I tell you, this is my favorite festival of all the festivals, and I've been to a few now. Hooray, let's give them a massive round of applause. Okay, we have things to talk about. So, a couple of years ago, I was here. Oh, yay, it works, yay. I was here, and I got to share with you my brand new book at the time, and it was Rosie Revere, Engineer. And the reception for that book was so great, and kids loved it so much, and I just had so much fun with it that we decided to write another one. So today I'm extremely thrilled, which is redundant but amazing, to share with you some things about Ada Twist Scientist, which is our next book. And it's out now, and I will be signing it later, as Carlos said. So, but I want to talk to you a little bit about where these books came from. A long time ago, when my son was about your age, he loved to build things. So he built with blocks and Legos and all the usual things, but he also would go to the pantry and he would pull out the soup cans and he would make towers from them. And I thought that was so cool. And that inspired me to write about a kid who wanted to be an architect, a kid who wanted to build things. And so I wrote, I'm not sure where to zap this. There we go. So I wrote Iggy Peck, Architect, about a little kid who loved to build things. And Iggy loved building so much, he would build from anything. So he even built, one time he built a tower in just an hour with nothing but diapers and glue. And that was cool until his mother realized that those diapers weren't clean. Ooh, good gracious Ignatius, she exclaimed. That's disgusting and nasty, it stinks. But Iggy was gone. He was out on the lawn using dirt clods to build the great Sphinx. Iggy just was absorbed in his work. He didn't care. He was busy. And so Iggy made all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. And one day his class went on a picnic. And they crossed this small trestle to a small island nestled in the heart of a burbling stream. But they no sooner passed than the footbridge collapsed and Miss Lila Greer started to scream, "Oh no!" And the teacher faints right there on the island. And it's up to Iggy and his friends to make a bridge. And so Iggy made a wonderful, wonderful bridge. And he used all kinds of things. He used fruit roll-ups and strings and all kinds of things you shouldn't even mention, like the underwear there at the top of the bridge. Don't bring that up, don't mention it. So after we wrote Iggy, we thought, wouldn't it be fun to have another book? Because when I wrote Iggy, I sent just the words to the publisher, and she found David Roberts, this amazing illustrator in England, and he brought back this beautiful, beautiful class of kids. And I looked at those kids and I thought, oh my gosh, that's some interesting kids. But you know what? I look at you guys, I look at all you kids out here and I think you are interesting kids. You're smart and you're funny and you're creative and you're clever and you can do amazing things. So I thought I should write some more books to explore the cool things that kids can do. But how could I start? Where could I even begin with so many cool kids? So I did research. I have a science background, so I used it and I did research. And I went through the book and I looked at all the pictures and I noticed that every kid shows up 4 times. And so I noticed this girl. I noticed this girl with her hair swooping over her eyes, and I saw that you never ever see both of her eyes. She's always hiding, and she's sitting there kind of shy and trying not to be seen. And I thought, what's your story? Because this is what I know. I know that shy kids may not be talking all the time, but they're always watching, and they're always listening, and they're always thinking. And when they're ready, when they are ready, a shy kid will tell you the most interesting, creative, and cool things. So I wanted to see what she would do. And this became Rosie Revere, Engineer. And so Rosie has had some adventures. Rosie loves to build things. So Rosie, when she was young, she made a hot dog dispenser for her family, for her uncles and aunts, and helium pants. I would like to have some helium pants. I'm counting on you young engineers to please make me some helium pants. I don't think it's too much to ask, is it? It's not. Rosie also helped her Uncle Fred, who's a zookeeper, and Uncle Fred has a snake problem. He can't keep the snakes off his head. He can't keep the snakes out of his shirt, and he can't even keep them in the cage. He needed some help. So Rosie made him the cheese hat. And it works with cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And that's true, because in nature you will never see cheese spray and pythons in the same place. I'm telling you, that's very bad science, but it's still true. It is bad science. So Rosie made the cheese hat, but her uncle laughed. And he laughed because he loved it, but she thought he was laughing at her. And so she just said she would never show anybody her inventions again until one day, Great-Great-Aunt Rose came along. And Great-Great-Aunt Rose had worked a long time ago building airplanes to help out the country, and she'd done so many cool things. But she said, you know, the only thing left on my list is to fly. But I don't think I'll ever get to fly because it's an old lady's dream. Well, guess what? Rosie got to thinking, and she thought, and she thought, and she thought, and she came up with a helio cheese copter. And she got in it, strapped into her cockpit. She flipped on the switch. The helio cheese copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment, then twirled round and round. It froze for a heartbeat and crashed to the ground. And then Rosie heard laughter and turned around to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear. And never will I be a great engineer. And so Rosie thought she would never be a great engineer, but she does end up learning. She learns from her aunt that it's okay to fail. You just have to keep trying. And so that book ended, and I thought, I'd like to try again. I'd like to make another story. So what did I do? I did some research, didn't I? And I went back and I looked at all the kids in the class, and I looked at them all, and I went through 2 books now, and I looked to see what all of the kids would do. And I came to this picture from Iggy Peck. And if you notice in this picture, everyone's busy helping Iggy make the bridge, except the one girl who's licking all the lollipops in the basket and throwing those on the ground. I'm not sure what her story is, but I will find out. And then I noticed over there, there's a little girl in the red and white dress, the little African-American girl. And she's sitting here and she's doing this. What do you think she's doing? What is she doing? She's thinking. She's thinking. And I thought, okay, that kid is curious. That girl is a scientist. And so I wrote Ada Twist, Scientist. And I'm going to tell a little bit about the story, and then I'm going to tell you some really cool secrets about the books, because that's one of my favorite things here. So Ada Twist is this kid, and she is so curious. And from the time she is born, she doesn't talk for a long, long time. But boy, when she gets out of her crib, boom, she tears through the house, exploring everything. She wants to know what everything is about. She's thinking all the time, what's going on? What's new? How does this work? What is that? And when she turns 3, she climbs up the top of the grandfather clock, and her parents yell, "Stop!" as all good parents would. And Ada's chin quivered, but she didn't cry. She looked at her folks and she simply said, "Why? Why does it tick and why does it talk? And why don't we call it a granddaughter clock? Why are there pointy things stuck to a rose? Why are there hairs up inside of your nose?" These are good questions. They needed answers. And from that moment on, Ada Twist was out to find out everything, and she never stopped asking questions. She asked questions about animals. She asked questions about planets. She even got to school, and the experiments went crazy wild. Here she's doing an experiment with Miss Greer in the class. Do you guys think Miss Greer likes that? I don't think Miss Greer's really happy here. What about the kids? Are they having fun? Sometimes science is really messy, and sometimes that's my favorite part. And one day she's standing outside, and all of a sudden, zowie, she smells something so stinky, she doesn't even know what it is. She's like, "Whoa, what does that smell?" And she decides that she has to go on a quest to find out what smells. And so she starts doing experiments. And she does an experiment with the cat. She's like, oh, well, first off, she starts with her dad's soup, his cabbage soup, and she starts adding curdled milk and stinky onions and all kinds of things. Yes, ooh, not a good thing to do. But it wasn't the right smell. And so she takes the cat and she says, "I think it's the perfume." And so she puts perfume on the cat. That's not cool. Oh, she gets in such trouble, and her parents say, "Enough, enough, Ada Marie. Go sit in the thinking chair and think about what you've done." And so she does. And so Ada sat, and she sat, and she sat, and she thought about science and Stu and the cat and how her experiments made such a big mess. Does it have to be so? Is that part of success? Or mess is a problem? And while she was thinking, what was the source of that terrible stinking? Ada Marie did what scientists do. She asked a small question, and then she asked 2, and each of those led her to 3 questions more. And some of those questions resulted in 4. And so she digs in and she starts scribbling on the wall all of her ideas. And when her parents come back, they have some things to figure out. Now, that's all I'm going to tell you about the book, and you have to read it to figure out what's so smelly. Isn't that terrible? Don't you hate it when people do that? Something stinks, I won't tell you what it is. I want to share, though, take a few minutes to share some of the things that I really love about these books. So this is a picture of me over to the left, and I'm in front of a donut shop in Chicago that's called We Can Donut, and I'm there posing like Rosie Revere. But the gentleman over to the right is David Roberts, and David lives in London, and we've only been able to meet one time. But David gave me the greatest gift probably anyone's ever given me in life, and I've had some, well, not maybe the best, but one of the best gifts. He created that bunch of kids, and he created this world which is so rich. But David is a smart, tricky, clever guy, and he hides things in the illustrations. So he created these kids, and in all the illustrations, you will notice connections with all the different books, including Happy Birthday, Madame Chapeau, which we also did together. So here you'll see Rosie Revere is there, and so is Iggy Peck. And Rosie has a hot dog. Oh, Ada Twist has the hot dog, and she's smelling that. That's the hot dog from Rosie Revere. At the end of, in Iggy Peck, Iggy has a pencil. At the end of Rosie Revere, she also has a pencil. At the end of this book now, Ada has a pencil. So he finds ways to tuck into these illustrations sort of the progress that the kids are making and just important little details. So I'm going to just point out a few. So Ada Marie Twist is named after 2 very, very famous women. Ada Lovelace, who was the first computer programmer, and Marie Curie, who was the first woman to win a Nobel Prize, the first person to win 2 prizes in different topics, and a crazy awesome lady. In the blocks on the floor, the blocks spell Lovelace. And you can see Ada is reaching up to the mobile. She's reaching for the stars before she conks out on top of the dresser. So Ada is driven by curiosity, but she's very smart and she's very logical, and she's always trying to figure things out. So here in the book, as she's doing any kind of experiment or looking at something, you kids have to look at that and try to figure out what she's learning, what she's thinking. So if you look at that picture, she's trying to figure out how many legs the animals have, her toys have. So the bird has 2, the dog has 4, the squid has 8, and the elephant has 5. Is that the correct number? It's not, but it's logical. So those kinds of things are in the book. So parents, I hope spend some time and just really dive in, and you will just be so impressed. I know I was. Oh, and also his blocks say Ada as well. David never leaves anything to risk. All of the gowns, by the way, he studied fashion illustration, which is why all of the adults in these books are so cool and styling. And they're all based on his own designs, inspired by other people. So here's Ada, and she's outside when she smells the stinky, stinky smell. And she looks over there, and if you can see in the background, there's the Sphinx that Iggy Peck created, and the cheese copter. And so there's clues in these books that these kids are neighbors. And it's fun to watch with kids like you guys find them. They're very cool. Okay, this is my favorite picture, I think, in the whole book. So Ada's family kind of figures out, you know what, she is going to be this kid who is curious, and she's going to do this stuff. We're the ones who have to figure out how to help her be her awesome self. And so they get her this wonderful paper roll where she does experiments. And you can see on the paper, she's trying to figure out which came first, the chicken or the egg. It's a very good question, one that people debate. And the other thing she's drawing, there's a double-decker bus. And she's figured out if the man drives the driver on the bottom, who is driving the top of the bus? I don't know. But my favorite part in this is the books. So all of us involved in the books, which was me and Susan Van Meter, our editor, and Chad Beckerman, our art director, and David Roberts, we all wanted to include some of the important influences and scientific discoveries and people that we think are really important. So there are titles there like Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. There's also some funny ones. Cosmos is there because I was a big fan of Carl Sagan. I think he changed my world pretty much. And hope you guys watch the new Cosmos show, which is absolutely brilliant. But my favorite here is the How's It Going Cat by Schrodinger. That's a good one. And there's a lot of funny ones. And I'm going to tell you guys a secret, okay? If you can see up at the top of the paper, there's a box. In that box there is a cat. And the cat is looking out. That's Iggy Peck's cat. So there are secrets hidden in the book, and when you get home, you can look at it. Okay, I think we only have a few minutes. I know I'm going to spend the next 30 years figuring out the things here. When you look at the initials in there, AB is me, DR is David Roberts, SVM is our editor, Susan Van Meter, CB is Chad Beckerman. So there's goofy stuff, and there's also some actual really great science in here as well. Okay, and I think, I have this last thing to tell you. 2 things. One, in the spring, we have a fantastic project book coming out. I just finished writing it. David's finished the art. It's going to be so much fun. So you engineers can make cool things, and just to help you with your ideas. There'll be one for Iggy too. And on Tuesday, this is the coolest thing in the world. An astronaut Kate Rubins, is going to read Rosie Revere, Engineer, in the International Space Station. Is that cool? I know, that's what I said. What? I know, it's too cool. And somewhere in a few months, it's not going to be televised live, but somewhere in the next few months, they will download that video, and it will be online at a site called storytimefromspace.org for all of you guys to watch and to read. Now, thank you. I know we have a few questions. I'd love to do a few questions before we run out of time. So there's a process for that. Oh, there's a microphone here. Okay.
Hi.
Hi.
So I have a daughter, Lila, and I have a daughter, Ada.
Lila and Ada.
And I have a son, Sam, and he wants to know when you're going to put a Sam in a book.
Oh, you're not going to change your name to Iggy? You wouldn't go for that?
He's
No.
6. It's a little late.
It's a little late. That boat sailed for you. Well, that is a great question, and now I have to think about that. I'm going to put on my thinking face. Hi.
Hi. What was your favorite book so far?
Oh, which of these is my favorite? Wow, I don't think I can tell you. You know what, maybe Rosie, because I love Great-Great-Aunt Rose so much, and frankly, I look a little bit like her, don't I? Yeah. Can I tell you, I dressed up like Great-Great-Aunt Rose last Halloween, and I didn't have to buy anything. I did make a cane with some silver, rivets, but yeah. So it may be her because I included Great-Great-Aunt Rose in this book as a way to say thank you to the Rosie the Riveters and the men who fought in World War II. My aunt is a Rosie the Riveter, and we have an unpayable debt to those marvelous people. So that's probably that for that reason. Yes?
When did you start writing books?
When did I start writing books? You know what? I was 30 years old when I figured out.
That is so cool.
That is so old. Yes, it's cool. Oh, there's more. Wait, there's people over here. Hello, people over here.
What inspired?
Whoa.
How did you make them?
How did I make those books? You know what? I wrote the stories, and then people helped me make them because it takes a lot of people to make a book. So there were, David and the editors and so many people. Yes.
What inspired you to write the books?
What inspired me? They really did start from asking questions. So I saw my son building these things, and I thought, what if? And these words, kids, these are the most powerful words. Whatever you want to do, ask yourself, what if? What if there was a kid who wanted to be an architect? What if we wanted to put a man on the moon? What if we wanted to cure cancer? What if? We can do anything when we decide to do it. But those questions really inspired me. Yeah. Should we do back and forth? Yes.
What inspired you to write?
What inspired me to write? Really, ideas come from everywhere. They come from books I read and people I meet and all kinds of things. Yes.
Where did you get the books? I mean, where do you put the books so we can get them? Because I saw some other people.
That's a great question. So where are the books if you would like to get them? There is Politics in Prose. Over, where is it? I don't know where it is physically. Physically, over there. And I will be signing the books at 2:30, I believe. 2:30 to 3:30, so I would love to sign for you. So I hope you'll come by. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. And I did not pay him to do that or anything. Yes.
So my name is Ada.
Well, Ada, I'm glad to meet you.
I'm glad that there's a book named Ada.
I'm glad there is too, and I didn't even know you then either. Very cool. It's a good name. You should read about Ada Lovelace. And there's another great book with the name Ada. It's called Ada's Ideas, and it's about Ada Lovelace. Just came out. It's brilliant.
And
Yes. Oh,
sorry.
that's okay. Yes.
How long did it take you to write one book?
Okay, how long does it take to write one book? I have no answer for that. So, because when I wrote Dr. Ted, I wrote that book in an hour, and it was done. When I wrote Hide and Sheep, it took me 10 years, and it's shorter than the other one. It took me about 5 months to write Ada Twist, Scientist, because it took me a long time to figure out her name, who I was going to name her after, because there are so many amazing scientists and so many amazing women scientists, and I wanted to name her after them. But I also had to make the names work with rhyming, so it's very difficult. If a name is too long, like a scientist named Nebuchadnezzar or Blagabaluba is never going to get in a book. There's not enough letters. So it varies. I never know when I start. Yes?
How did you become a writer?
How did I become a writer? You know what? I studied biology and computer science when I was in college, And I love science, and I love math, and I love literature, and I love all kinds of things. So I just follow things that are really interesting to me. And when I got out of college, I worked in the computer industry for a while. And then when I had kids, I was staying at home with them, and I started reading picture books. But I hadn't really read picture books since I was a kid. And they were so much better than when I was a kid. I had a few good ones, but I'm telling you now, the quality of picture books for kids is insane. And I started getting ideas, and once I got ideas, that was it. Started writing. Hi.
What did you use to make the pictures of the book?
Oh, what did I use to make the pictures? You know, David Roberts, who lives in London, I'm not sure if I did that. David Roberts, who lives in London, makes the pictures. And I think he uses ink pens and paper, a special kind of paper, and he uses watercolor. And when he does the art, he does it actually to size, so he doesn't make it bigger or smaller or change it. He makes it exactly the size you see. And sometimes those illustrations are very, very intricate, and there's so many details, so it's pretty remarkable. Yes? Hi.
Hello.
Hi. How are you?
How do you make the words rhyme?
Oh, how do I make the words rhyme? Sometimes with great difficulty, I will say. You know what? I use some special tools when I do rhyming books. So what I do is I have a very special dictionary called the Flip Dictionary. So it helps me find whenever I have like a bridge. I knew that I wanted Iggy Peck to cross over some sort of bridge, but the word bridge wasn't rhyming with anything. So I thought, a trestle is a kind of bridge. So I could look up all the things related with structures you could build in the Flip Dictionary. And then I said, trestle, a small island nestled in the heart of a burbling stream. And I have a rhyming dictionary which helps me find words that sound alike. And sometimes I have to jumble my sentences up and rework the whole thing to make it work. And sometimes it just doesn't. Oh. Yes?
What inspired you to make the Hidden Secrets?
Oh, what inspired me to make the Hidden Secrets? Well, that's the marvelous thing is I didn't. So I get to enjoy them the same way you do. So David Roberts works from the words in the book. And I never put details. I never say, can you do this? Can you make Ada's dress red and white polka dotted? Can you make Rosie have bangs? I never do those things. But David creates all those things. The only time I've ever suggested anything for the books is I asked if the Sphinx could be in the background. And David did that, and it showed that we had, that they were neighbors. I think we have time for maybe one more question. Yes? Hi.
Do you think the backgrounds and the secret stuff is really cool to have?
Do I? Yes, I do. I do. I think it's so cool. And I'll tell you why I think it's cool. I think it's cool because it's fun. Because I know that when I was your age, I loved to read books like that. Like Go Dog Go is my favorite book. And I have spent, I'm sure, actual months of my life looking at the picture of the picnic at the end of that book saying, ooh, what would I do? Would I go on the swing, or maybe I'd have the cake, or be shot out of the cannon? And I know how much that was important to me to be pulled into the books. But also because I think this is one of the reasons the books connect with kids so much, is that I think David showed the ultimate sign of respect to kids because he knows you guys can find secret things, that you're smart and cool, and you pay attention in a way that adults never even see these kind of details. So I think that's why, and I love that he did that. I think that I have to go. But I love your questions. Thank you all so much. Thank you. And I'll be signing at 2:30 at where they do that. Thank you, and have a great festival.
This has been a presentation of the Library of Congress. Visit us at loc.gov.